Loki has finally arrived on Disney Plus, as we just had to deal with a whole month without Marvel content. Kind of crazy, am I right? But now, going forward the rest of this year, we're getting Marvel content like every single week. So don't worry, we're not going on another break for a while. But again, Marvel's back with Loki, a new original series on Disney Plus. And this first episode was amazing. A lot of people are even saying that it's like the best of Marvel, of out of all the MCU Disney Plus series. And I don't know if it's that good, but I still really like it. And it's way better than I expected, because going into this, if I'm being honest, this is probably the MCU Disney Plus series that I was looking forward to the least. But it really did surprise me. Because based off all the trailers and everything that we'd seen about this series so far, it looked interesting because I knew that we were dealing with the multiverse and time travel, and I liked the character of Loki, but at the same time it almost looked like it was kind of going to be boring. Like, based off all the trailers, it looked kind of just like, alright, everything's gold, and like the TVA looks cool, but at the same time it just looks... It looks like it's going to be a lot to explain here, and I felt like, alright, this is going to be a series where there's not a lot of action, and it's mostly going to be a bunch of, like, just characters sitting down and talking and explaining things. And to be fair, that is what we got in this episode, but I feel like they did it in a really cool way. And I think that's actually partly due to Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, because they're both great actors, and this is something that really... it depends on the actors. It could have been super boring, but they made it interesting, especially with the chemistry between those two and the dynamic between the characters of Loki and Mobius. So I did really enjoy seeing that there. And again, I wasn't expecting this, but I did really enjoy this episode, and I'm really excited to see what we see in the future of Loki. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get into spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the premiere episode of Loki yet, then definitely don't keep watching, but come back after you have. But let's go ahead and jump into this. So we start off the episode pretty much right where we expected to start off, following up after the cliffhanger in Avengers Endgame that set up this series, where Loki gets the Tesseract and teleports away, escaping and saving himself from the Avengers. So he ends up in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, where he now is a time variant, and that is why the TVA actually shows up, because they've got to arrest him for his crimes against the sacred timeline. So he's arrested, and he is brought into the Time Variance Authority and their whole headquarters and base of operations here, where he's then processed and all set up in the system, which also, by the way, a quick reference and Easter egg here is when he's first brought here, in the lobby, you can spot a scroll off to the side, so definitely something interesting to note there, because we know the MCU is setting up huge stuff with the Skrulls and Secret Invasion next year, so just a really cool Easter egg right there. But then again, he's getting processed into the system of the TVA, where he gets his uniform, and he has to confirm every single word he's ever said, and he's got to confirm whether or not he's a robot and all this stuff. But one of the most interesting parts here, that I think was one of the best parts of the episode, was with Miss Minutes, which, by the way, is just so cool, just to see an animated talking clock, which, by the way, is also voiced by Tara Strong, a great voice actress. I love her work, seen her in a lot of stuff. So she voices the character here, and Miss Minutes, by the way, if you don't know who Miss Minutes is the basically kind of the mascot of the TVA, and basically, as you see here, just informs people on what this place is and what is going on and why the TVA was formed. So that is exactly what she tells us, and she explains some pretty interesting stuff here, because she starts off by saying that years and years ago, there was this multiversal war. So the Timekeepers created the TVA to stop Nexus events from going on and creating more variants that would then again create another multiversal war. And this was honestly just kind of insane, because I think this is a huge reference to Secret Wars, which is this huge multiversal war in the comics, and it's this crazy storyline, which there's actually been huge, like, multiple rumors and leaks that this is something that we're going to be seeing in the MCU going forward, and could possibly even be the next Avengers Endgame level event in the MCU, which would be awesome, because they're setting it up right here. And again, they mentioned Nexus events, which was kind of name dropped in WandaVision as well, in I think actually the final commercial with the Nexus to presence, because Wanda is a Nexus being, which means that she is connected to the multiverse and she has this insane power. And all of this here is just to set up for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which has been confirmed that Loki does set that up and tie directly into some of the concepts and things that we're going to be seeing in that series. So definitely some huge stuff here. Danger, Multiverse, Nexus, Secret Wars. Super exciting stuff here that I am just so hyped for and cannot wait to see what we get in the future here with the MCU, because some big stuff looks like is going down here. But after this part here, this catch up on the TVA, we meet up with Mobius, who is in the middle of investigating a new murder, which is actually the 6th attack that week. And he asks this kid, who did it? Who killed this person? And she just points up at this stained glass window of the devil. Mephisto confirmed. Totally 100% that is Mephisto. Totally. But not really. Actually, funny enough, just the other day, Michael Waldron, the head writer of the series, was specifically asked about this because this shot was in the trailer, and it was like, yeah, no, it's not Mephisto. It's just, it's just the devil. But some hardcore fans, they're gonna keep going with those Mephisto theories. So, I mean, hopefully we do see Mephisto at some time in the MCU. I mean, I feel like we've gone through enough pain as Mephisto fans with WandaVision. He deserves to show up at some point in the MCU. So, after this, Mobius actually gets an alert, because this is when Loki is going on trial, because Mobius is a huge fan of Loki. He's actually studied his whole timeline, he's studied Loki's whole life, and he wants his help on this mission. So he goes there, and variant L1130, aka Loki, is on trial, and obviously he blames the Avengers. He's like, it's not my fault and all that stuff. But luckily, Mobius saves him from being reset, which is what he was going to do because he was found guilty. But Mobius saves him because he needs him for something even more important. So he takes him in this room, and they basically just have this long talk like I was talking about before. And Mobius shows him Loki's greatest hits, all of his best moments from his life here. We get, of course, him taking on the Avengers and stuff like that. Also killing Agent Coulson, which honestly I think would have been the perfect time for Mobius to just mention, like, oh yeah, by the way, he's not actually dead in this timeline. He actually came back to life and joined the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, got his own spin-off show and everything. But I guess that's just one further thing to prove that the ABC, other Marvel shows are not canon to the MCU, which is really unfortunate. But man, I miss Coulson. Would have been the perfect spot for that to mention it, because I mean, Mobius knows everything about the timeline, so he would know about that. So that would be the perfect time to be like, yeah, he's alive. Go check out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then bring him back in the MCU. Totally would have been perfect there. But then things get a bit more interesting when we find out that also Loki is DB Cooper, which is something we saw in the trailers, but we assumed, like, I remember making so many theories that was going to be something on one of his missions with the TVA to fix the timeline and hunt down this bad guy, was becoming DB Cooper. But no, this was literally something that just happened all along in Loki's original timeline because he lost a bet to Thor. So that's honestly kind of hilarious. And if you don't know who DB Cooper is, it's this actual real world person that in history is just this mysterious figure, where this guy that looks like how Loki looked in this episode just stole some money from a plane and just jumped out of the plane, and they never found a body or anything like that, and it was just this huge mystery. And so the MCU has explained it as like, yeah, it was just Loki. Totally, it was Loki the whole entire time. So that was honestly kind of awesome. And again, not something I would have expected. But then things get a bit more tragic here when Loki then gets to see what his future would have been. And he gets caught up on what we've seen Loki take his journey on in the past few years of the MCU. Like, he gets to see the death of his mother, Frigga, and after that, he's just done with it, and he actually escapes while Mobius is talking to Hunter B-15. So he grabs the Tesseract, and this was another great moment of the episode, because when he goes looking through this, like, evidence drawer that Casey has at the head desk of the TVA, there's literally just a pile of Infinity Stones in there, and Casey's like, what, why is that a big deal? And obviously Loki's like, whoa, are you serious? And this is one of the big moments that he realized, like, wow, these guys are the real deal. They are all powerful and everything, because they literally have a pile of Infinity Stones in this drawer just lying around that they use as paperweights, just treating it like a pile of M&Ms, which, I mean, wow. I mean, it really does show you how powerful these characters are, because they literally have a stockpile of Infinity Stones just lying around that they're using as paperweights, which is kind of awesome and very badass. But again, this is where Loki really realizes what this place is, and it really put things into perspective. So then he uses the Tesseract to teleport back into his room and watches the rest of his future, including Odin's death, being a brother to Thor, and even his own death by Thanos. And this is when Loki realizes that he can't go back to his timeline, because this really is the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. This is a big deal right here. So then Mobius comes back in, and he officially recruits him for this mission to hunt down this bad guy, who we find out is another Loki variant. And we don't know for sure, but the big theory and rumor going around is that this Loki variant is Sophia DiMartino's character, Lady Loki, a female version of Loki, which we know is a possibility, because on some of the files for the TVA, it has been confirmed that Loki is actually gender fluid. So that is something that happens when you have all these alternate versions of these characters, that you have alternate gender versions of Loki, which is honestly pretty cool, because that's a big thing in the comics as well. So then this is where we actually follow up with this variant Loki, where our ending scene here, our big cliffhanger, is in Oklahoma, and we have this Loki variant all in a hood, so you don't actually see who it is. And they kill some more of the Minutemen and steal their temporal charge, which is what they used to reset the timeline at the beginning of the episode. So that's definitely not a good thing that now she or he, because technically we don't know for sure that that's her, but I'm pretty sure it is. Definitely not a good thing that she has that in her hands, because that is a very powerful weapon. But again, I'm interested to see where this goes. I love this episode. It was great. I really enjoyed it, and I'm super excited for Loki. Again, we're going to be doing these episode reviews and breakdowns every single Wednesday with all the new episodes of Loki, all 6 of them. So, anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below. All your theories with all these crazy things, because Mephisto and the Infinity Stones and Secret Wars, the multiversal war, and Lady Loki, or whoever this Loki variant is. Let me know all your theories and thoughts and predictions down in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I keep up to date on everything goes on.